Hey everybody, welcome to another What Sold video. This is dealing with the first week of 2024, January 1st through the 7th, and it was not bad. I've got some new Bolo brands. Be on the lookout. Maybe some items or brands for you to keep in mind, file away for your own thrifting. And we had some nice sales from the profit pile, so not just the stuff that you saw in that other video with Mr. Pish Posh, but some hard goods that we kind of unearthed as we were digging. We listed really quickly, got those sold, and had a really nice couple good sales this week. So let's start off right away with a baseball cap. Travis Matthew. I picked it up, I think it was me, basically because Travis Matthew, I think I talked about this recently in a haul video, when I was with Mr. Pish Posh, and we just were talking about the fact that Travis Matthew shirts had a good sell-through rate. They might not be high prices, but they're kind of guaranteed to sell and will sell fairly quickly. So I saw the Travis Matthew hat and I was like, it was in really good condition. Here's the logo on the front. And I took a chance on that. We only sold that one for $15. Like I said, it's not usually high price, but it can sell fairly quickly. And this one did have a local golf course logo on the side there. So we just went ahead and I think we sent an offer, got a counter offer of $15. We're just trying to be better about just trying to move our stuff fairly quickly if the profit is okay. Sold a Wrangler shirt. This one was listed probably the beginning of December, and it sold for $19.99. Again, Wrangler, unless they're really fancy embroidery, things like that, but the basic Wrangler pearl snap shirts, are going to kind of be in that $20, $25 range, unless there's something really special about them. So $20 for that. This next brand is William Murray. And if you think about it, you probably know who this is that made this hat. So this company is owned by Bill Murray, the actor. And William Murray, I had always heard, was a good golf clothing brand to find. Golf polos and things like that William Murray shirts were actually really good. Have never found one, but I did come across this hat. It kind of looks like the other one, kind of in a similar style. It's corduroy, people like that too. And then this one just sold for $20. I think that was our full asking price. So not crazy high prices for the hats, but I couldn't pass up this hat just because it was the first time finding the brand. I don't remember exactly what I paid. It was at that new thrift store that I've been going to that just reopened, and she kind of prices stuff in her head as I get up to the counter, so she doesn't like spell it out exactly what each thing was. I just kind of pay my total. It would have been like $1 or $2, I'm sure. So next up was this single stitch vintage Tina Turner concert tour t-shirt. It sold for the full asking price of $35, and I'm pretty sure we had Mr. Pish Posh brought it home. I think he got it at our clearance bins store, because that's generally where he goes when he's by himself. And in the reselling world, the whole vintage t-shirt thing is really popular. And you can tell vintage t-shirts by, they call it single stitch. I don't know if there's going to be a picture of it. Oh, here we go. The stitch along the cuff of the sleeve is, if you look at a modern t-shirt, it's got a double stitch, but older t-shirts only had a single stitch. So besides the made in the USA on the tag, then that's kind of a way to figure out how that if a t-shirt is vintage or not. But the two together really let you know. Made in the USA, single stitch. Anywho, I think when he checked comps and he was like, oh, it's maybe not that great. There's other ones listed. But we went ahead. I said, you know what? We don't just have eBay. We have Poshmark. We have other places. So let's just try. But it sold on eBay and it sold for $35. So we thought that was a really good deal. Now, we had been feeling we can get them super, super cheap at our clearance center store, like 10 cents or less. And it seems like every time we go, they've just dumped a bunch of hats into the hat bin. And so we kind of have this like never-ending supply. And I think it was just starting to get to Mr. Pish Posh that we have an inventory of hats, and a lot of them are just sitting. So we thought, you know what, let's try to clear some out, and we'll run a coupon on eBay. I think it was a coupon. No, it was a sale. We ran a sale for like 40% off. No, it was a coupon. Sorry. I think I usually do coupons. I don't really run the sales things anymore. Yeah, it was a coupon. So we ran a 40% off coupon just on the hat category in our store. And then I went through and I removed some of the hats that were just brand new listed, or I thought were still worth a good amount of money, that just need the right buyer. And so it was $28.99 minus the 40% off. So it took $11.60 off of that. So this, I don't recommend the Stetson. Anyway, it's a Western style like fishing hat. So anyway, that wasn't so great. And that I think had been listed for a bit, like since fall, maybe. Okay, some more items just bopping around in Mr. Pish Posh's garage. He kind of has some stuff that he's kept just in case he might need them. And he says I asked him about these. He says he's had them for a while. So these are ball casters, like roller wheels for chairs, and these sold for $25. That full asking price. Next up, here's some of that discontinued beauty that I shared with you in a haul in my little ongoing estate sale that is located in the county treasurer's office in town. And they had a bunch of discontinued makeup or older makeup. Some of it's not discontinued, but just they had kind of cleared that out, I guess, from somebody. And they had it marked at like 25 cents, 50 cents a piece. So I picked up the CoverGirl Nature Luxe tubes that were there, and I just kind of divided them by color, tint. And so I had 3. It turned out I ended up having 3 in this color, which was called Bamboo. And the buyer came and bought all 3. So her total was $68.97. And we had it set up with a discount if they bought more than one item. So a multi-item discount was like 10% or something like that. So she got each one for a little bit less because she bought all 3. But that was a nice sale all at once. $67 basically. Now this one, I'm going to go through this story fairly quickly because I don't like to dwell on the negative, but I don't want to hide these things from you too. I ended up having to refund this one because basically people sometimes don't read. We started off the listing with as is. The rest of it is new. It was missing one component. If you remember, we did sell a complete one for like $70 or $80. And then we had opened this one, and Mr. Pish Posh had realized that there was a part missing. Now he did, okay, so the part was missing. It's in the whole description. Anyway, it's all over if you actually read the listing and looked at the pictures. And so the buyer, I have returns automatically accepted. Now he opened the return as item not as described. And so I admit I let it get to me a little bit. I felt that wasn't fair. And I did tell the buyer, I'm like, it was all over the listing, so I don't know what you're complaining about. And so, of course he says, well, I can't use it the way it is. So the one thing that we would have done differently, should have done differently, is this condition is my husband listed it as open box. So open box does in its description kind of have like a, it's not perfect, blah, blah, blah. He should have listed it as for parts or not working, because that's what we kind of assume somebody would use this for. So in any case, I wanted to message eBay for Business because I just don't want the I don't know. What do I want to say? I didn't want it to go against me that they're opening an item not as described when it is as described. But so I went to eBay for Business. They were kind of backed up, so I didn't get an answer right away. And so then I kind of calmed down. We thought about it, and I was like, do you really want this back? We're going to have to pay to get it back to us. Do you really want this back and list it again with people who can't read? Are we just going to have the same thing happen? Should we just cut our losses? And so we just, I was going to wait for eBay to answer me. And then I was like, no, because you actually get more effect to your account if eBay has to step in and do something. Like I was definitely going to do something before my time limit, but I'm like, I can only foresee one outcome to this. And so I just went ahead and refunded him the money. And I didn't ask for it back or anything like that. So we just cut our losses on this one. So I'm really only out, if you think about it, I'm only out the cost of the item and then the original shipping, right? The shipping to send it to him. So it's not like I lost $50. I lost less than that. Okay. The amount I made, the profit I made, I got it and gave it right back. So I'm only out, the cost of the item and the shipping. And that's a cost of doing business. That's just kind of a reselling life. There's losses, right? And you just write it off on your taxes and move on with your day. And you go on and you sell a nice little mug for $15 that you got at the clearance center. And it was signed. It was studio pottery we seem to do pretty well with, especially when it has horses on it. And I live in Montana, and so we find a lot of studio pottery with horses on it. And it's kind of like horses and cats seem to do pretty well. There's plenty of horse lovers. There's plenty of cat lovers. And those are kind of motifs that do well. Now let's start talking about the profit pile. Now these are probably my profit pile like champions as far as how long I've had these. And I'll tell you why, because oh man, I was going to have this name written down because I knew as soon as I was like forced to think about it, it would go out of my head. Anyway. Okay. So these are coasters. Now look at the design. Isn't that funny? It's a guy one way, you flip it, it's a girl the other way, right? Old fashioned. Okay. Now, most listings for these, I'll show you the mark on the back. Bucciarelli, Bucciarelli, made in Milan, made in Italy. Now, most listings say Fornasetti designed for this company, okay? And they do have the Fornasetti look and everything. Now, I couldn't find proof of that. And this is research I did 10 years ago. I didn't redo the research very much. If you look at other eBay listings, they all put both names in it. But I had this vague memory that I couldn't really prove it. Now, I have sold Fornasetti coasters before, and they were marked Fornasetti, and I got like $200 for them. But I was just very hesitant to put Fornasetti in this listing. And so these I've had for so long, And it was like my procrastination pile because I couldn't get the proof that I needed and wanted. So I just was like, you know what, we unearthed these again. And I looked at comps, and comps were all super high. Etsy, eBay, they're all super high, but there's hardly any in sold. And so I told Mr. Pishposh, I'm like, just put $50 on them. Let's just move them. Let's just see what we can do. And sure enough, now I lost my place. Sure enough, we sold them. I think we sold them with a 10% offer, so like $45. But they sold in like 3 days. And I am totally happy with that because these have been in a bin in my life. It has to be at least 10 years. I don't know. They don't take up that much room. And so when I couldn't figure out what to do with them, I put them away, and then I just didn't think about it again. Don't be a Shannon. Attack your items right away. Okay, we just sold this little Sunbeam Mixmaster for $20. Again, a clearance bins find for us. And I believe I shared this blazer in a haul with Mr. Pishposh, and I just said, according to the style, it's J. Crew. I had a feeling it would do pretty well. It sold for $35.99. It's just velvet. Velvet blazers are generally a good pickup. J. Crew, it was only a size 4, but it was okay. And a little peplum style, so $35.99 for that one. And then I don't sell a whole lot of books. I only look at books in certain stores. A lot of times I'm looking for books for my kids, but I had gone over, they had their store like rolls a cart, like a library cart out with books. And people, before they put them away, people pick through that whole cart. So I will look through the cart of new books that comes out if I happen upon it. And I saw this, it was sealed. It had a barcode, so I could scan it real quick with the eBay app and saw some good comps. And this was so easy. So it sold for $50. And whatever they charged me at that thrift store, $2 or something like that. Here's another Bolo brand that I was talking about at the beginning to maybe keep an eye out for. It's called Vivo Barefoot. And it says it right here on the tongue, Vivo Barefoot, handcrafted in Portugal. And then they have another little logo, kind of a hexagon beehive. I don't know what that is, but anyway, Vivo Barefoot. I think I paid up a little bit for these, but I looked at comps. I think I paid like $15 or so, and they sold for $80.99. Oneida, we definitely can make more money splitting flatware up. I think we were kind of getting back into that thought of listing flatware, and we have a bunch of it. So I think Mr. Pishposh just grabbed some and said, I'm just gonna, whatever's in the lot that I have, I'm just gonna put it out. So like this lot didn't really have spoons. It just had a sugar spoon. So it's kind of a weird lot. But if somebody needed a bunch of forks, they're all set. And it took maybe a month or two and sold for $70. And I think, was this the other one? So 40% off coupon on all my hats, and we sold 2. I don't know. I ran it for like 5 days or something like that. And I was just like, alrighty then, I guess the hats people didn't want. Anyway, so this was the other one that sold. So it took about $7.60 off of that $18.99. And this was the item we were talking about. You've seen it already. It was in our profit pile video, but then also in the profit pile video, I showed you that it had already sold. In the next video or something like that. So anyway, that sold for, in that video, I told you it had sold for $60, the full asking price. Another pair of shoes that sold for $24.64. These are a pair of Crocs. They kind of look like leather, but just slip-on kind of moccasin style shoes by Crocs. And I think these came from our Bins outlet store. My husband kind of happened upon the fact that they put out new shoes right at the end of the day. Not new, but you know, they put out a bunch of new to them shoes at the end of the day. And he came upon he happened to be there. And so a lot of the shoes that he picked up were actually in really good condition. I sold a coffee mug for $18.99. This is the University of Las Vegas, I believe. No. What's the N? I had looked it up at one point, but now I don't know. It's a basketball team, Runnin' Rebels. North Las Vegas? I don't know. What do I know? UNLV. Runnin' Rebels. Okay, so I had picked it up because it seemed random enough but specific enough that somebody would want it. And it was the season on the back is like from 90 to 91. So somebody needed it. Somebody wanted it. I would say that took about 3 months or so to sell. This one sold really fast for $24.99. We were kind of in this, you know, we're starting to try to make our initial price. Like Mr. Pishposh had been in this zone of pricing things high, and then we're always dealing with offers and sending offers, but we just feel like stuff is not moving fast enough. So we decided, especially with this economy, to try to start our prices a little bit more reasonable and just see if we can make up in volume, you know, what we might not get in the, you know, the highest, absolute highest price that we wanted. Anyway, we have another method that we're trying out this week that I'll share with you in the future that seems to be working really well. It's something we'd done in the past and kind of had forgotten about it. And so now we're trying it again, and I'll report back in the, you know, in the future on how that's going. There is a version of this pullover that has that's more of a vintage tag, and that one can sell for like $50, $60. This, I think, is the newer version of this Yankees pullover shirt, but it sold super quickly and we're always happy about that. Another item we came across in the profit pile, there was a couple bins. After I did that whole video with you guys, all those bins, I found more bins in the closet down here that had gotten stashed at some point. And anyway, a couple of them had hard goods in it. And, you know, I saw these and I thought, you know what, that's so easy to list. Let me do that real quick. And so they sold, you know, within a few days, and I sent a 10% offer, which they took. So it sold for $31.49. A little bit of fabric sold. This was just a yard, and same thing. I took an offer. It was $11.69. It had some stains, wasn't in the greatest condition, and it wasn't a huge piece, but it was just like play clothes and stuff. This little juvenile novelty fabric. Now this, you probably saw in my thumbnail, but this is something that kind of was in my procrastination pile, I'm going to call it again, because I was having a hard time finding comps when I found it, but I knew it was special. So it's a cribbage board, but look at how beautiful that is. It did have a little bit of damage right there on one of the holes. And I had picked this up, I was trying to remember, it was on a road trip or somewhere we went out of town, and there was a few different cribbage boards, and I bought this one and another one that was like new in its box, but it was just wood. And I just thought, oh, this is so cool. And so it is Bakelite. We tested it, and it's just so pretty. Now in the Bakelite world, the plastics world, I'm sorry, I'm about to sneeze. Maybe not. They'll call that, when they mix all the colors together, they'll call it end of day. So we didn't use that in the listing, but we just I just thought that was interesting. And we pulled it out, and I just told, you know, Mr. Pish Posh is really good about my procrastination piles, I'm like, I don't know, it's too perfect, and what do we do? What if we do it wrong? And he's like, let's just list it. So as he's doing his research, he finds a sold for $200 on WorthPoint, and I don't recall having seen a comp, which was part of my problem when I first found it. But then I realized the comp happened after I found it. So sometimes, I don't know, you hold on to your stuff. And so we found a comp. So we just go ahead, we listed it for $200, and no joke, it sold in like 10 minutes. Okay. So yes, you know, people always are like, oh, it sold, you know, we didn't list it high enough. It sold too fast. And it's like, no, we listed it for the perfect price because the buyer didn't even hesitate. Okay. And so we had a little back and forth with him, and he was totally happy with, we made sure he saw the damage, and he said, oh yeah, it's a vintage item. It's to be expected. It's all good. And he was super excited because these don't come up very often. And if I had put a higher price, who knows how long it'd be sitting there. And so we were thrilled. So happy. Just turn that profit pile into profit. For real. And then one more sale on eBay that week was this Gekro copper little kettle. Sold for $35. We had another smaller one that had already sold. So that was in what sold a few weeks ago. And I think we picked these up a couple months ago at a thrift. Moving on to Posh. Posh did a little bit better. We've been really working it and adding new items and things like that to it. This was just a plain baseball cap by J. Crew. Of course, it came from our Little Bins place, but it was made in the USA, so it was vintage, and it had the older J. Crew label. But so this is the video I shared with you last about the aesthetics and the style keywords. So I just used two. I used basic and normcore. So if you remember that, could have used minimalist. I could have used heritage. I could have used quite a few. But that sold even with hardly anything noteworthy about it. It sold for $15. Sold a pair of 90s Y2K-ish chunky shoes from Walmart called Faded Glory for $29. And Laura Geller, this is like an eyeshadow, sold for $15. She just left a message asking to make sure we packaged very correctly, as good as possible, because she had tried to order a couple of these already and sellers weren't careful, and so they arrived broken and damaged and stuff. But I did get good feedback from her already, and she liked how we packaged. This was a square pillow sham by Pottery Barn Kids. Last week, I believe I showed you the rectangle shaped one that kind of went with the same line, and we had two of these square ones. So I have both listed on eBay. Cross-posted one of them to Poshmark, and sold one on Poshmark. So I went back and I've adjusted the inventory count on that other listing on eBay. And then this one was one of those items that we were just like, we're going to have to donate this thing. I don't know why nobody wants it. It's vintage. It's like got a snowflake on it. Like, I don't know if it's the size. I don't know. And then like we just talked about like getting rid of it, and it sold. I got a $15 offer, and I'm like, you got it, whoever you are. And then Simply, I shared this brand with you last week. I think it had sold, but then it didn't fit, so it was coming back. And I relisted it, put it on Posh, and it sold for $45 on Posh. And I got good feedback, and it was accepted and all that. And then look what sold. My little, whatchamacallit, bucket list item, thrifting item, was to find a Glassy Baby votive candle holder. Finally found one, which I shared with you. It was $1. And it sold, this one sold for $61. Sold this winter jacket by Polo Jeans. So a Ralph Lauren kind of sub-brand sold for $54. And then this sports coat, sport jacket, whatever you want to call it, it was vintage, like new with tags. Isn't that cool? Made in the USA, had the original price on it, and it was Palm Beach, tailored in the USA for country gentlemen. So we took a $65 offer on that. I paid $10 or less at my Goodwill. I picked this hat up at Goodwill also, King Ropes, Sheridan, Wyoming, made in the USA, and that sold for $30. And look at that sewing pattern sale. So this was that haul that I had not that long ago. I think I shared of the sewing, one of my highlights videos of my thrift finds. And this was all those costume patterns. So this was, I think, the first one that has sold. $50 for that men's Renaissance costume pattern. Love it. This type of pattern, I love selling this kind, you know, 90s, 2000s, 80s patterns still sell. $15. And another good pattern sale, $52. Now this one took a while, probably at least a year to sell, and just a very unusual. It also had a designer related to it, so Halston. When anything is over $35 in my pattern shop, I do free shipping. It's just set up that way on Etsy that I've agreed to. You know, my cost of goods on patterns are so low that, you know, I have that wiggle room to do things like that, so especially on a higher value pattern. And then here's another one from that haul. $24 is what that pattern sold for. That very cottagecore, you know, frontier kind of prairie style. And one more pattern for $10. So that's kind of more average, is to sell, you know, patterns in that $10 range. And then this one, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it, but because when you look at, oh no, I'm signed out. Never mind. Okay, so that was I'm not signed into this one. That's why. I'm gonna close it because I don't want to show the person who bought it and their name and info and all that. It was hard to set up because it's one of those listings that that I have as a variation. So they bought like 6 forks, I think 6 salad forks from my Interpure listing, and it was like $48 for that. So that was kind of cool. Over on Ruby Lane, we're going to finish up. We had this little, oh man, I don't even remember where I picked this up. It wasn't that long ago, and it's been listed maybe like a month or so, but it was really cool. It was this little mirror that you would hang. To me, it's like you would hang and like on your way out the door kind of thing. You can check the mirror. And it had this interesting piece right here. Like you would hang your hat. Like, so you'd hang your coat and you'd hang your hat. So I think it was like a Victorian revival type thing. It reminded me, the way it was made reminded me of like 60s hardware. But then I also know someone mentioned that she remembers like in the 80s and 90s, some catalogs that did a lot of Victorian reproductions would sell stuff like this too. So still vintage, nothing like super old or anything like that, but kind of Victorian inspired, or Victorian revival, they'll call it. That sold for $40. 2 grapefruit spoons. Grapefruit spoons are generally a type of flatware that I pick up no matter what. I don't know. They just sell. People want them. And then the next 3 items are all to the same buyer. And she was a repeat buyer. And I have a discount set up for repeat buyers on Ruby Lane. And so the price showing is the discount that she got. So it was $20, she got $18. She got it for $18, was this cute little cat mug. And I told you in a previous video that I had done a cat themed sale on Facebook in a Facebook group. And so because certain items didn't sell, I had them out and I went ahead and put them on Ruby Lane and they sold pretty quickly. So that was neat. I did realize I looked up the buyer of these items and she had bought from me before, hence the repeat buyer discount. And she had bought 3 cat brooches from me before. So that's stuff I need to file away, that I have a cat buyer who knows to look at my shop on Ruby Lane. So that's cool. So she bought this mug for $18. She bought this amazing little crumb catcher brush, little dustpan type thing, made in Japan. I found this at a Goodwill and I'm like, how can I not get this? This is so cool. And that sold for $36. And I don't know why that is there. Oh, and then here's the third thing she bought. And so this was another profit pile thing. It was in one of those cases or bins that we pulled out. And it's called a Mad Money case, styled in Hollywood. This is probably a better picture. You can see it. It's just something to store coins in, you know, back when we needed coins out and about. And so she just added that to her purchase for $9 because she just thought it was interesting. Wasn't cat related, but there you go. Anyway, that was the first week of January 2024. I hope your month is going well. I hope everybody is staying healthy and warm. We are on the mend. The boys are getting there. They're just still coughing, and I think they will for a long time. And then as far as temperature, it is at our house currently -15. And tonight, by the time I get up in the morning, it is supposed to be -30. That's not wind chill, people. That's like the actual temperature. So far, the power has not gone out. We do not want that to happen because we have no backup. I mean, we don't have a good backup. Anywho, that's winter. A little bit chillier. They did close the schools today because of the cold. And then we're headed into the weekend. And then it's supposed to start. It's supposed to be like a couple days where it's deep cold. And we'll see if it does get as cold as they say it will get. You know, at that point, I'm just staying inside anyway. So I don't know the difference between -15 and -30, right? So it all feels the same to me inside my house. Okay, enough rambling, and I will let you go. As usual, you know what to do on a What Sold video, besides liking it, is leave me a comment down below about your best sale of the week. How is your 2024 going? I have not been out thrifting in a while because of sickness, and then, you know, I say a while, but it's probably been like, well, it's actually been a while between sickness and bad weather, snow and such. So we'll see if I can ever get out thrifting, but it's good because I'm listing, backlog, profit pile, right? And stuff is selling, so can't complain. Anyway, I'm still rambling again, so it must be time to eat dinner. I will talk to you guys later.